could mean disaster, not only for the Middle East, but perhaps for the international political and economic order as well.
The contract signed by the Dutch government, but they point out that 53 other passengers are still being held on the train. These passengers, along with the 4 teachers still held at the school, will begin their 3rd week of captivity tomorrow. This is the railroad station at the town of Groningen, where the passengers were going when their train was hijacked. Now it serves as a meeting place for the families of the hostages. The relatives say the first few days of waiting were the worst. Now they're confident that the government will eventually secure the release of all the hostages. They say they will continue their long, agonizing vigil, no matter how long it takes. For the relatives who have waited here day after day for the past 2 weeks, it's not a question of if the hostages will be freed, but when. And they all want to be close at hand when that happens. John Palmer, NBC News, Groningen, Holland.
A Middle East Airlines plane bound from Beirut to Baghdad with more than 100 passengers aboard was hijacked today and forced to land at Kuwait. The hijacker demanded $1.5 million to release the passengers, several of whom are American and British businessmen. And in other news this evening, more on last night's rioting in Chicago, a memorial service for those killed in a Kentucky nightclub fire. The Portland Trail Blazers win the NBA, and our profile tonight is on the Amish, all coming up after this.
This is Humboldt Park, a Puerto Rican neighborhood of Chicago. Some buildings here were still smoldering this morning. Here is what the neighborhood looked like yesterday. This all started, witnesses say, when a member of one street gang shot a member of another street gang. No one is sure why. Police tried to break it up, but minutes later, both gang members were dead.
Senator Dudley Perry and State Representative Thomas Reed. At that time, Judge Thomas told the jury that he thought that they had had a long day and that they should go back to the motel for the night and begin deliberations tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Huh? Y'all come on. Come on, don't worry about me. No. Why not? Yeah. The jury deliberated for approximately 29 minutes before they came out of the jury room and told Judge Randall Thomas that they would like to hear tape recordings between Thomas Reed and State Representative. Start over again. Okay, take 3. The jury deliberated for approximately 29 minutes. They came out of the jury room and told presiding Judge Randall Thomas that they'd like to be allowed to hear the tapes again that were taped in 1975 of conversations between Senator Dudley Perry and State Representative Thomas Reed. At that time, Judge Thomas told the jury that he thought that they had had a long day and that they should go back to their motel where they had been sequestered for the last 2 nights, and and begin fresh tomorrow morning. The jury was told that they would not be allowed to watch TV, listen to the radio, or read newspapers, or discuss the case while spending the night once again at a downtown motel. They will begin tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., an hour earlier than the last 2 days of this trial. They begin deliberations again tomorrow morning. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News at the Montgomery County Courthouse. The jury got the case at 5:31. The defendant in the case, State Representative Thomas Reed, is here now, and he is talking with supporters who are, of course, anxiously and nervously awaiting for the jury's decision. Reed underwent cross-examination by Prosecutor John Young, and Reed denied ever offering a bribe to State Senator Dudley Perry. Once again, he said that Perry was the first person to bring up money in that proposal. Reed again denied ever intending to receive any personal gain from the dog track. The state contends that Representative Reed tried to pass a number of bills which would reward him first as race commissioner, giving him a salary if he was not an elected official, if he lost an election. The defense, of course, has contended all along that no bribery attempt was ever made. Thomas Reed has denied in 2 trials and this trial that he ever tried to do anything wrong, and he never tried to bribe Dudley Perry. The composition of the jury is 9 blacks and 3 whites, and we have been able to get a hold of a jury list, and we have one of the jurors is a maid, one is a cashier, one is a secretary, one is a nursing assistant, one is a teacher, one is employed as a cook, one is a social worker, and we have another secretary on the list. That's all we have right now at the Montgomery County Courthouse, while the jury is deliberating the fate of State Representative Thomas Reed, who is accused of attempting to bribe Senator Dudley Perry in reference to a dog track bill. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News, live from the Montgomery County Courthouse. Bob, the jury returned this morning at 8 a.m., an hour earlier than they had in the past 3 days of these proceedings. They came out, got a copy of a transcript of a taped conversation between the defendant Thomas Reed and State Senator Dudley Perry that was recorded in June of 1975 at Perry's farm in Macon County. Subsequently, from those tapes, Reed was indicted for bribery. We have with us 2 attorneys here in Montgomery, Attorney Floyd Minor, who is primarily a defense attorney, Prosecutor Charles Price, who is an attorney who practices law with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. Neither one of these men are associated with the Reed case in any manner, but at this time where the jury is making its decision, I'd like to ask both of you gentlemen, what is it in terms of a lawyer? What do you think about? Do you think about whether or not your final argument was the best you could do, or other things that would enter your mind? Mr. Price first.
Well, Norman, really, you retry the case of perhaps 1,000 times. You think about whether or not in your closing argument you made clear the evidence that you were trying to get over to the jury. You think about whether or not there were any facts, a fact that you could have better explained that would have convinced the jury, and you're just really trying to second guess the jury. You're sitting there trying to see whether or not they are divided and how they are divided, 6-6 or 3-9 or thereabout. You just retry the case, and it's very agonizing. It just is an agonizing situation. You never know until the jury returns.
Attorney Minor.
Norman, I agree with Charles. I always experience a helpless feeling at that point in time because you hope that you have done everything that you could do, and then there's nothing that you can do but wait with the party. Of course, as Charles said, you retry the case in your mind over and over. Did you emphasize your strong points, and did you go after their weak points? Primarily trying to assess in your own mind if you did the best job possible, which is, of course, your obligation.
Well, really, you wish you could get in the jury room and retry the case,
right,
or re-argue the case.
At this time, the jury is deliberating. Earlier today, they spent most of the morning, up until about an hour ago, listening to taped conversations between Senator Perry and Representative Reed that were recorded at Perry's farmhouse, unbeknownst to Reed, in 1975, in June of 1975. Reed is here now awaiting that verdict. He is presently having a conversation with some of his reporters. The jury is out. It is deliberating. We'll have more from the Montgomery County Courthouse. This is Norman Lumpkin reporting live. This is Norman Lumpkin at the Montgomery County Courthouse. A few minutes ago, a jury of 12 found Thomas Reed, state representative from Macon County, guilty of an attempt to bribe State Senator Dudley Perry of Macon County in connection with the passage of a dog track bill back in 1975. The jury came out early this morning and asked for transcripts of tapes recorded during conversations between the two men. Later on, they came out and said that they wanted to hear a tape recorded back in 75, and for an hour and a half they listened to those tapes. They went back into the jury room and they came out about 12:25 and gave their verdict. They found him guilty. He has been fined $500 for the attempt to bribe a state legislator. I understand from some legal experts here at the Montgomery County Courthouse that there is a statute on the Alabama law books that would allow a jury to find a person guilty of an attempt a felony. So that's where that particular verdict came from. When the verdict was announced, supporters of Thomas Reed, who has come from all over many parts of Alabama because of his connections with various civil rights groups, were very depressed. There was a short prayer. All of the supporters gathered around State Representative Reed, and they had a moment of prayer. And we are awaiting Mr. Reed to come out now and talk to us and tell us whether or not he plans to appeal. I believe he did file notice of appeal immediately, and I'm not positively sure, but I think he has been released on appeal bond. We will have more on the Thomas Reed verdict and possibly an interview with Reed and his attorney, George Dean, at 6 o'clock. This is Norman Lumpkin reporting live from the Montgomery County Courthouse, where a jury has found State Representative Thomas Reed guilty of an attempt to commit a felony and fined $500.
Here. Since then, hundreds have moved here from Ohio. They have bought hundreds of acres of land, and more Amish are coming.
Well, Montgomery has always enjoyed a very stable economy measured with proper growth, and I think this is what the people like here, that we do not have great swings of unemployment or booms as some towns do, and I think that our diversified incomes derived from private enterprise and from state and federal agencies that are here make a real good balance to give us a very stable economy with the proper growth factor.
You're a major crusader for crime prevention, we ranked 16th in the nation. Does that make you feel good?
Well, any crime that happens in this city causes me concern, and we have too much of it, and we're going to do our best to remedy this situation as rapidly as we can. I don't enjoy reading about other cities' misfortunes and that they rank below us. I'm just delighted that we are able to maintain as good a police force and as good a law enforcement agencies as we have and deter crime as best we can, and we'll do a better job of it. But I am gratified to know that we ranked at this point in the survey.
All right, we ranked 58th in the nation when it comes to educational and recreational facilities. How, from what you understand of the survey, how can you explain that?
Well, it's very difficult because I think we have, for example, let's take the recreation department, and I think if they would take another survey in about 90 days, they'd be astounded at the new parks, facilities that are coming online in the city of Montgomery and are already beginning to come online. I think Montgomery has an outstanding recreation program, and there's plenty for everybody to do that wants to involve themselves in the recreation program. I think we have basically a good education system in Montgomery and Montgomery area. I cannot comment on that as closely as I can some of the other things, although my 3 children went to public schools here and have done very well. So I think we have a good education system. I think we can improve it, and I think the monies that have been expended toward accreditation in the last few months and the monies that will be expended toward accreditation will certainly cause this factor to be upgraded.
All right, now we go to the, if you want to call it the bad news out of the good news. As far as environmental and overall appearance, we ranked 90th out of 100. What about that?
Well, we're making a major effort, as everyone knows, to clean up our city. It is one that it is a problem that we're aware of. And I think everybody has heard me say that we've got problems of trash on the streets and that we've got buildings that need to be dealt with and we've got lots that need to be cleaned up and weeds to be cut and other things, but it gives us a challenge and I accept it, and we'll move forward and see if we can't move this indicator up to the level of some of these others and cause people to recognize us to be the good city that I know we are.
And that's just one opinion from the city's official spokesman. But what about the people that live here, the average citizen of the 21st most livable city in the United States?
Well, I've lived all over the United States of America, and I'm a Montgomeryan by choice rather than by birth.
But why do you think that it should rate so high?
Well, the first attribute I would say is the friendliness of the people, the quality of the life. It's a big enough city so that you can have most of the conveniences of a large community, a large city, without all of the inconveniences and, as the young people would say, hassles of a major city in America.
Right now, the recreation facilities that the mayor has started to improve is one of the most appealing things, and the other most appealing thing is that Montgomery is starting to change as it relates to the physical makeup of the city. At the housing area and the business district is starting to change some, and this is probably one of the greatest assets to the city. Is according to Montgomery's income is going to need to improve, and if the business districts keep improving, I think that as it relates to blacks in the city, it will begin to be a viable economic city for black people.
Well, this report just reconfirms what I have known all along, in that Montgomery's a great place to live. I think we're ranked too low. I think we have one of the best cities from an all-around livability standpoint of anywhere in the country. I'm delighted to see that other people recognize this factor.
But what about the people that live here, the average citizen of the 21st most livable city in the United States?
It's a pretty town.
Friendliness of the people.
I think it's one of the few cities that is growing in population and growing in business and growing as far as blacks returning to the South. And this is a good sign that Montgomery will be one of the most viable cities in the South.
I like everything.
We've been touring the southern United States with the sole intent of affording the students an opportunity to look at the social communities in which hospitals exist and to look at the hospitals internally, to give the students a comparative base to look at how nursing is practiced throughout North America. And the fact that the southern states have a nursing shortage and the province of Ontario in Canada has a surplus seemed a lovely match to have this kind of a tour at this point in time.
Yes, sir, there's still very much a shortage of nurses in this area, and this is one of the means that we're using to acquire additional nurses for our institution.
Well, I've done nothing but talk on the telephone last night and all day today. I predict that I've had about 30 phone calls, all of them opposed to the construction of the facility here just outside of Wetumpka.
Why do they say that they're opposed?
Well, there are a number of reasons. A number of landowners who are developing property. One man has just built a house adjacent to the site, but there are other reasons. I personally resent the Board of Corrections taking it on themselves to dump this facility here in Elmore County. They're treating us like a stepchild, and the commissioner said yesterday that because we'd had prisons here for many years, we're acclimated to it. But quite frankly, that bothers me, that they didn't come in here and ask the people what they thought about it. And for that reason, I'm trying my best to get a public hearing on the facility being built here. I hope that Commissioner Locke will see fit to come over and face the people of Elmore County and tell us exactly what he plans to do here.
Is there really a need for this prison?
Oh, we've got to have some more prisons in Alabama. That's the reason the legislature appropriated the money. But as I say, we had anticipated it would be built in North Alabama. We do need some more prisons. We need some better prisons in Alabama. But you know, when they tore down Kilby Prison and built Atmore, it was supposed to last from now on and solve all the problems in the state. And we've got more problems today with that facility at Atmore than we've ever had.
What kind of additional problems could be confronted by the construction of this new prison?
Well, they're already building a 400-bed facility adjacent to Draper, and if they build this one here, it's going to put about an additional 800 inmates into Elmore County. It'll put an additional burden on our already overtaxed law enforcement facility here. Our Sheriff Thrash and his people spend a third or half of their time chasing escaped convicts. We don't have sufficient law enforcement in Elmore County already. And the state is not going to help us. They never have before. So this simply means that it will be thrown on the laps of the people of Elmore County to protect their people and to chase the escaped inmates from this new facility.
So you're convinced then that Elmore County has just been picked out as just a dumping ground for this type of a thing?
It seems to be, and as I have said, I resent very much the Board of Corrections coming in here without consulting the people of Elmore County. They own the property, the money has been appropriated, and I suppose that acting as the separate entity that the Board of Corrections is, under no authority from the governor or the legislature, they can do it if they see fit. But I'm going to do my best to at least answer the questions that the people of Elmore County have asked me about this new prison.
Wednesday night on Grizzly Adams.
Jack, I'm telling you, there ain't no monster out here.
But they are not alone.
Sure been acting strange lately.
Trying to kill me. What thing? The monster.
The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams. Wednesday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on NBC.
Wednesday night, President Jimmy Carter addresses an evening joint session of Congress. The president is expected to reveal his long-anticipated recommendation for a national energy policy. Coverage starts at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific time, Wednesday night on NBC. Tomorrow night, President Jimmy Carter addresses an evening joint session of Congress. The president is expected to reveal his long-anticipated recommendation for a national energy policy. Coverage starts at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific time tomorrow night on NBC. Tonight, President Jimmy Carter addresses an evening joint session of Congress. The president is expected to reveal his long-anticipated recommendation for a national energy policy. Coverage starts at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7...